Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you very much for checking out the live edition of the State of the Saints podcast. And you're probably looking at some new things. I'm actually doing this live on StreamYard.com today. This is my first time recording on StreamYard. So thank you all very much for taking a part in the live tonight on this Friday. There's a lot you can be doing right now. So thank you very much for checking this out. Of course, tonight we're going to be talking about a topic that has been making his rounds today, and it is Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney decided to narrow his decision down to two teams, and one of those teams is the New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to be talking about, will Jadeveon Clowney come to New Orleans? And that is a question that I have heard so many times. So many people have asked me, is he coming to New Orleans? Is he a good fit for the Saints? I've even heard some people say, if he comes to the Saints, it's going to be huge. So will Jadeveon Clowney come to the Saints? Before I answer that question, I just want to let everyone know that Jadeveon Clowney, he did break it down. He decided to make his decision between two teams, the New Orleans Saints and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, before anybody, start laughing just like I did, I understand why he would want to go to the Dallas Cowboys. I know this may be a shock to some people, but I completely understand why Jadeveon Clowney would want to go to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are one of the best teams in the NFC, despite the fact that, they don't show it every Sunday. Okay, they got a lot of talent. You got Dak Prescott, you got Ezekiel Elliott, you got Amari Cooper, you now got CeeDee Lamb. Defensively, you got DeMarcus Lawrence. You got Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch. So, they're talented on paper. So I completely understand why he would want to go to the Dallas Cowboys. And not to mention, they play a lot of games on primetime, which means he's going to get a lot of exposure. But when we're comparing, I'm talking about now. I'm not talking about history or anything like that, because we all know Dallas Cowboy fans love to live in the past. But I'm talking about, if we're talking about currently, why would you even want to make a decision between the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints? Quite frankly, the New Orleans Saints are better than the Dallas Cowboys and have been. If we're talking about recently, we're not talking about them old dusty WD-40 rusted Super Bowl rings that all these Cowboy fans like to bring up every time somebody, when they're backed into a corner. You know what I'm saying? They like to bring up those 5 Super Bowl rings that happened. 1995 was the last time they won a Super Bowl. I think the first Friday movie just came out. Will Smith, stood in the middle of Uncle Phil's living room with no furniture for the last episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. A lot of things happened back in 1995, but we're living in 2020. The New Orleans Saints are just a better football team. Jadeveon Clowney, it seems to me like he wants to go to a contender. He wants to go to a team that is a Super Bowl contender. Once again, why would you want to go to the Dallas Cowboys? But I digress. The New Orleans Saints are a better fit for Jadeveon Clowney, quite frankly, because he can be one of those players where he can go alongside Marcus Davenport, and I feel like he can really do a lot of great things. Jadeveon Clowney really has a lot to prove. He still has not had double-digit sacks since he's come into the National Football League. This guy was the first pick overall, I think, in a 2014 draft. So he still has to live up to expectations, man. The fact that you've been in the league going on your 7th year, if I'm not mistaken, and yet you still have not generated double-digit sacks, that's a problem. That is a problem. And that's something that he needs to fix. But I think the New Orleans Saints can find a place for him. And I think he can help the New Orleans Saints be successful. But, he said that he wants to go to a contender and he doesn't mind taking a pay cut. That's what I like to hear. The biggest issue when I did videos in the past about Jadeveon Clowney had a lot to do with the fact that I just thought that he might be asking for way too much money. And he has to be very, very careful too, because you don't want to end up being an NFL mercenary. I mean, you see that a lot these days. You seen it back in the day with Darrelle Revis. He was a guy that I like to consider an NFL mercenary, a guy that sells himself to the highest bidder. Man, we seen him play for the Jets, and then he went to the Buccaneers for a high amount of money, and then he went to the, went to the Patriots and then the Chiefs. So I don't want him to be an NFL mercenary. We see a Dominican Sue doing stuff like that. So if he can find a team that can believe in him, then I think that he should stay there. But with Jadeveon Clowney, man, he wants all that money, but I mean, he has a history of being injured, and I think teams don't want to make that commitment to him if they feel like he's going to get hurt. So I think by him going out here saying he wants to play for less money, he wants to prove that he's worth a long-term deal. So ain't nothing wrong with that. But I think out of the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints, why in the world would you want to play for the Dallas Cowboys when you can play for the New Orleans Saints on a 1 or 2 year deal, and you have an opportunity to play with a Hall of Fame quarterback versus a team that just basically a circus? Jerry Jones is the reason why the Dallas Cowboys stay in the news and stay relevant. It has absolutely nothing to do with them winning or going to the Super Bowl or being on the threshold of a Super Bowl. It's just the fact that the media, love Jerry Jones press conferences. They love watching the Cowboys play on primetime television and lay an egg so they can have something to talk about on Monday morning. So I don't understand. I mean, me personally, why wouldn't you want to play for the New Orleans Saints? Why wouldn't you choose the New Orleans Saints? That's just my honest opinion. But let's go ahead and look at the chat here. Shouts out to Jerry Poor. Jerry Poor says, State of the Saints. Good evening, TJ, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Man, shouts out to my guy, Jerry Poor Jr. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to him, man. Always the first in the chat. Quinterio Jackson, what's going on, man? He says, what up, TJ? Man, so shouts out to you, man. Quinterio, always here as well. Let's see. Joe says, what's up? Superstar Louisiana boy said, what up? Who that family? Joe said, what up, TJ, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And he says, who that family? Want to give a shout out. Let's see, man. Let's go with the Truth Hurts, man. He always has some interesting takes. It would be fantastic if Jadeveon Clowney lands in NOLA. How's it going, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast? Yeah, it would be a good look if he end up in New Orleans. That would be a great look if he end up playing for him, no doubt about that. But like I said, man, he has a lot of questions that he needs to answer as far as being a defensive end. Being healthy is number one. I want to see him in a Saints uniform, but I want to make sure that he's healthy. And if he's, I dropped the mouse. Excuse me. I dropped my mouse here. But if he's not healthy, then I think that the New Orleans Saints need to go in a different direction, man. He has a lot of talent, but I don't know, man. It's interesting. But he's not going to get on anybody's team until he takes a physical. I think that's the reason why he's still out there. Teams want to be able to use their doctors to give him a physical. I don't think it has absolutely nothing to do with his talent. Let's see. Let's see who we have here. Okay. Brandon Williams says, Clowney and Cam would be a huge problem for offenses in the league. If Davenport can stay healthy, our line will be lethal. Thank you very much, Brandon. That is true. We all know Cam Jordan is the Iron Man on the defensive side of football. And then if you add Marcus Davenport staying healthy on the field and Sheldon Rankin staying healthy on the field, and you got that rotation and you add Jadeveon Clowney, man, this defense will be official like the 1st and the 15th. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see that, man. But these guys got to stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be hard to have a guy like Davenport and a guy like Clowney, guys that kind of got like the similar skill set, great athletic ability, great off the ball, but can't stay healthy. Let's see. Let's go to Dalton. Dalton says, honestly, would love to have Logan Ryan, but we don't have enough to get him. Yeah, Dalton, that would be great to have Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan is a great defensive player, secondary player, play cornerback, can't play safety, and he would benefit to the New Orleans Saints. But like you said, man, way too much money, too rich for the Saints blood. And, I hope he get his money, man. I hope a team decides to sign him and he goes out there and gets the money that he deserved. But, I mean, a lot of people haven't been talking about him because, honestly, the Tennessee Titans haven't been good, for the exception of this season where they went to the NFC Championship. But Logan Ryan deserves his money. He deserves to be one of the highest paid secondary players in the National Football League. And I just don't think the Saints have the money. But thank you, Dalton. What happens if they cancel the season or we play a short season? Let's see. What happens is, oh man, we continue to live our lives. It would be unfortunate if the NFL season is canceled, but I'm seeing some optimism. I read an article today on NOLA.com that said they're going to put tarps on the first 8 rows of the Superdome to cut down on COVID-19. So by them doing that, it tells me that the NFL are trying to use all the precautions they can in order to keep the players safe as well as the fans safe. So by them saying that, that also means that they are trying to make a conscious effort to make sure that we have football in 2020. Cry said, how do you know that? I don't know exactly what that means. TJ, who you think he gonna sign with though? Young Nola. I think he gonna sign with the Saints. Like if you look at the Dallas Cowboys, man, the Dallas Cowboys, they got Aldon Smith, they got all these other guys that they have added to the team with DeMarcus Lawrence. I can see him playing for the New Orleans Saints. And honestly, man, if you're talking about being a Super Bowl contender, why would you not want to play for the New Orleans Saints? Like, if you're talking about playing for the Dallas Cowboys, in my honest and humble opinion, you ain't talking about winning no Super Bowl. No disrespect to the Dallas Cowboy fan. No disrespect to the Cowboy Nation, but the Saints are just a better football team than the Dallas Cowboys. If I'm talking about a team right now that I feel like is a win now, ready to go to the Super Bowl type team, it's the New Orleans Saints. So if he's up here talking about he want to play for a contender and he want to put himself in a position to be in the best position to win a Super Bowl, why wouldn't you pick the Saints over the Cowboys? I'm just saying. Dak Prescott is not a better quarterback than Drew Brees. Okay, you can say whatever you want about Drew Brees. You can talk about the lack of arm strength. You can talk about him not being able to get the ball down the field. You can talk about him costing a team a shot in the playoffs. But if the game was on the line, if the chips were on the table, as well as I do, you would choose Drew Brees over Dak Prescott. No doubt about it. Thanks for the response, man. No problem, man. Hey, that's what we do here, man. That's what we do. We man, I respond to people, man. that's what we do here, man. No doubt about that. That will be 5 first round defensive linemen. Yep, it definitely would key down south, but who cares? Okay, as long as they can help us win, I could care less. Okay, I could care less. Do you believe he starts opposite of Cam, or will he be in a rotation? Oh, Chemo. Shouts out to Chemo, my guy. He'll be in a rotation, man. Like, he'll be in a rotation. Now, that's something that might sway him to go to Dallas, that the fact that he'll be a rotation guy versus actually being a starter. And Dallas, I feel like he will be a starter opposite of DeMarcus Lawrence. With the Saints, I don't know if he'll be able to start over Davenport. I mean, that's just my honest opinion. Davenport is really good, and Davenport is a high-rated defensive end. The only problem is, Chemo, is he don't stay healthy. That's the only issue. Let's see. Brandon says, TJ, do you think Zach Bond and Adam Trotman will have great rookie years? Brandon, thank you very much. To be honest with you, yes, I do. I think they're going to start off slow, which honestly, we have to kind of understand that as fans of the Saints, because dealing with COVID-19, dealing with the lack of OTAs, dealing with the lack of rookie camp, these guys are going to have to slowly be acclimated into the defense and offense, respectively. Zach Bond has to acclimate himself and ingratiate himself into the defense. And the same thing with Adam Trotman. And it's going to take some time. I mean, you can know the playbook like the back of your hand, but it's about execution as well. And it's also about chemistry with your teammates. So Zach Bond, I feel like it's going to take some time. Adam Trotman is going to take some time. But the good news is for the Who Dat Nation, all of us, is the fact that the New Orleans Saints have a Josh Hill and they have a Jared Cook. These are two tight ends that can actually come in, and the Saints can slowly bring in Adam Trotman on, you know what I'm saying, different packages. And the same thing applies to Zach Bond. So, but I think they're going to have really good, a really good season as time progresses, as they get more game reps, as they get more experience, as later in the year, as the game starts to slow down for them. I feel like they're going to become better. So I definitely feel like they're going to have solid seasons. And anything else other than a solid season is a win for us. Straight up. Ali Williams says, TJ, will Clowney be productive on the Saints? Because I've heard he hasn't gotten sacks like that. Well, that's the thing, Ali. That's the only issue. He's a first pick overall back in 2014 or 15. Excuse me, I can't remember. But he's never had double-digit sacks. So, and one of the issues why he has never had double-digit sacks has a lot to do with the fact that he's been injured. And like I said, that is something that the Saints have to, understand what they're getting with a player like Jadeveon Clowney. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like this is a very tough decision, not just for Clowney, but for the Saints also, to make the commitment to him. I feel like he would be a part of the rotation, so it might save him a little bit more versus him getting like the majority of the snaps as he did in Houston, as he did in Seattle. So he might be willing to be open to that, especially since he's going to be signing like a short-term deal with less money. So it might not bother him as much because now he can put himself at, get a good sample size of plays on the field when he goes back into negotiations, rather it be with the Saints or another team. He'll have some health on his side. He'll have some durability on his side because he's a rotation player, and he'll be willing to, negotiate more money. So I think it might be a win for him if you look at it in that regards. But if he's out here saying that teams didn't want to sign me, none of the elite teams feel like I was worth it. Let me go to the Cowboys, be on the opposite side of DeMarcus Lawrence. Let me get double-digit sacks. Let me let all of these other NFL teams eat crow. Then, that'll be another story. But why wouldn't you? If you're going to sign short-term deals with the Cowboys and sign a short-term deal, with the Saints, why wouldn't you want to go out there and be a rotation player, build up, your stamina, build up, your durability, and go out there and play? That's what I would do. If I know that the New Orleans Saints most likely is not going to be a long-term commitment to me, why wouldn't I want to go to a team that would be better for me long-term? I'm not risking the fact of getting hurt, causing myself less money and less years on my career. Like, why wouldn't I want to do that? Especially if I'm just, at a pit stop. I truly believe the pedal to the metal this year. We just have to, what's that? Re-up. I guess that means re-up. You guessed it. Run the football. Oh, he said, yep, run the football. Excuse me, Kimo. Yeah, absolutely, man. We definitely got to run the football. We definitely got to be committed to the run. The Saints have to make sure that they actually implement running the football into their offense. Okay, that's what's going to get them to the promised land. Jared Port says, I don't see Clowney going to Dallas. Hails to the nah. But in New Orleans, 100% yes. Jerry, I agree with that. I just don't understand why would anybody want to go to the Dallas Cowboys over the Saints at this stage, especially if they're talking about playing for a team on a short-term deal, 1 or 2 years. Why in the world would you choose the Dallas Cowboys over the New Orleans Saints? And like I said, no disrespect to the Cowboy Nation. I know Cowboy Nation. I got some people that are Cowboy fans that watch the State of the Saints. But let's just be serious, man. If you're being real and you take the fandom out and you take like just the navy blue, silver, and white out of your heart, you know for a fact that the New Orleans Saints are better at this stage right now than the Dallas Cowboys. You know it. Why aren't we talking about JW being Drew's heir apparent? Honestly, ill because we done talked about that before, man. We just talked about Jameis Winston on several occasions. You know what I'm saying? Like, shouts out to Jameis Winston. I feel like him sitting on a bench should really save his career. Okay. I feel like Jameis Winston getting some mental reps on the sidelines, being in a classroom with Drew Brees, learning under Sean Payton, and learning how to be a pro's pro and understanding how to take what the defense give him is going to help his career. Okay. I feel like that's the best thing to happen to Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston should pray to God that Drew Brees doesn't get hurt or have a situation like it did with Teddy Bridgewater. And the reason I'm saying that is because I feel like by him sitting on a bench and getting mental reps for 16 games out of the season is going to help him tremendously. That's just my honest opinion, man. But hopefully one day we be having that conversation. But we've talked about him, you know, and being in the Saints uniform on several occasions. I'll be ripping him. Thank you for the $2. Says Clowney's fart skills are suspect. Pass. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the $2. I'll be ripping him, but you know, Jadeveon Clowney, if he's a rotation player, that is a plus. Young Nola says Davenport overrated now. I think we should trade him for something better. Come on, young Nola, man. The man only been in the league for 2 years. And honestly, like I said, when we look at defensive ends, we only think of them doing one thing, and that's getting to the quarterback. We don't think about the other things that they're supposed to do. And the other things that Davenport is supposed to do, he does really well. He's ranked among the top 3 defensive ends at setting an edge. You know, when people run to the side, they rarely ever get past him. And he's really great in run support. So I feel like that's a plus. Okay, if we're looking at him as being the next Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, or JJ Watt or something like that at right now, then okay, if you're looking at that, maybe, you know what I'm saying? But everything else he does absolutely well. All I can tell you is this, young Nola. According to Pro Football Focus, this man is ranked 88. Okay. No, excuse me, 82. He's ranked 82 according to Pro Football Focus, and that's pretty doggone high for a defensive end in his second season. Key Down South says run the ball and play action. I absolutely agree with that, brother. I absolutely agree. Says sorry, I'm new to the channel. Hey man, look, I completely understand, brother. No problem there. You know, no problem at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank you very much, you know, for checking out the video. Hopefully this won't be your last. Just the way we do things, man. We family up in this thing. You know, like I'm not one of those people, you know, I see you strolling down, ain't gonna like I try to interact with everybody, man. This is a channel where we interact with each other. We respect everybody's opinion. And we, you know, talk about the Saints collectively, you know what I'm saying, as a family. So thank you very much, brother. Hopefully it's not your last time being a part of the channel. We love to have you, man. Shouts out to you. Brandon says, TJ, do you believe that Dennis Allen needs to become a better defensive coordinator? Oh, man, Brandon. I think he can do some things better. I think that he is a much better defensive coordinator than Ryan was. You know what I'm saying? Rob Ryan, I feel like he wasn't organized. Dennis Allen turned the defense into an organized, well-oiled machine. Now, if we're talking about elite, if you're looking for an elite defense, then he hasn't done that. But I will say the defense is better under his watch. But I do feel like the secondary, which I feel like is kind of crazy because his first stint with the New Orleans Saints, he was the secondary coach. Why in the hell would your defense in the secondary not be good if the secondary is your expertise? I really couldn't tell you. You know what I'm saying? You think about the University of Alabama. Most of the time, the secondary is like the best thing about Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the guys that end up playing in the pros for a long time. that's kind of Nick Saban's calling card, being a secondary coach. So I don't understand why the defense has issues with turnovers and turning their head around when the defensive coordinator specialized in the secondary when the Saints went to the Super Bowl. But that's my only issue with that. But I think that he brought some legitimacy to the secondary. Let's see. I'll be ripping him. Thank you again for the $2. He says, if Clowney proves he can fart at Camo, I'll change my mind. Well, look, man, I don't know if he can fart or not, but if he can get to the quarterback, I'm all in. Okay, he said if he can fart at camp. Okay, I got you. I'll be ripping him. But hey, I don't care if he can fart or not. That's a plus if he can fart, according to I'll be ripping him. But if he can get to the quarterback, that would be a plus for me. Yeah, thank you very much, man, for the $5 donation, man. I appreciate it. Once again, man, I hope you subscribe to the channel, and I hope this ain't your last time, man. Much respect, TJ. Who that? Man, Mike, what's going on, man? Man, shouts out to Mike, man. Shouts out to Mike, always coming through. Tyrell Davis says, to quote Shannon Sharp, I'm excited for week 1 so Brady can go to Club Shay Shay and get this L. Yes, sir. I think a lot of people in the Who Dat Nation are looking forward to that. I think NFL fans are looking forward to that. 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, 2 guys that are going to get a gold jacket as soon as 5 years are up when they retire. Can't get no better than that. Straight up. Thank you, Tyrell. Says, we family, brother. Welcome. Chemo, absolutely, man. We family here. Y'all already know. Jack David says, I knew as soon as I saw Zach Barnes' stat line and highlights from his senior year that he was going to impress people. Seems he's already starting to prove he belongs in the Saints locker room. I'm stoked. Yeah, Jack, I'm excited too. I'm always excited about young players and the expectations. But it seems like there's something special with Zach Barnes, and he seems like a guy that seems to get it. Everybody that you talk to, whether it be college scouts, rather it be coaches on the Saints, it seems like Zach Barnes seems to get it. And I'm happy for that. I'm very happy for that. I'm very excited to know that he is going to, be a part of the New Orleans Saints and learn under the Mario Davis and crew. So definitely a plus. Jared says, at State of the Saints, I really enjoyed the live stream this week with you, TJ. Man, I enjoy it with you too, Jerry. Man, shouts out to Jerry, man. Jerry been rocking with your boy since the first time he put a camera in his face. Jerry has always been loyal to the show, man. And I got a lot of respect for him, man. So shouts out to you, Jerry, man. Thank you so much. And like I said, man, I'm always trying to find new ways to try to make the viewship more engaging to you all. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always trying to find different ways to do that. So, man, thank you, Jerry, man, for holding it down since day one. Young Nola says, TJ wants a hot sausage sandwich. Yes, sir. Hot sausage on French dress. I'm still trying to find a way so I can get me some patent hot sausage. I'm trying to get in touch with my brother where we can get some dry ice so he can get them mailed to me, man. I would love some patent hot sausage so I can make me some po' boys around here. Let's see. Ramsey says, hey, TJ, always love the show. Any word on what's going on with Everson Griffin? If you have already talked about him, forgive me because I just tuned in. Ramsey, nah, have not heard anything about that. I'll talk about that in a second. If we sign Clowney, will it hurt or help brain development? I don't know, man. I really honestly don't know about that at all. All I know is he will add an interesting dynamic to the defense. No doubt about that. Let's see. Let's go to Jack David here. Jack David says, do you think North Dakota State University Trey Lance could overtake Justin Fields in the 2021 draft? Dude had 28 passing touchdowns, 16 rushing touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in his college career. I wish the Saints would go after him. Well, man, that is a very good question right there. And to be honest with you, Trey Lance, I think that we have to understand, coming from a college like North Dakota State, which is really good, you know what I'm saying, and Division One. You know what I'm saying? I would think Division Two, if I'm not mistaken. They win a national championship almost every year. But there's one thing that is helping him, and that is the play of Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, as you all know, came from North Dakota State. So I feel like teams are more open to a Trey Lance now because they see the success of Carson Wentz. I do think that he will overtake Justin Fields, especially if he goes out there and he has another productive season. And I feel like Carson Wentz, being the number 2 pick in the draft, being almost like a run-up for MVP before he tore his ACL and his LCL, it helps him out a lot. I think that he will go way too high for the Saints to draft him. If the Saints were in that position, knock on wood, I hope they're not. I would try to get him, but I'm kind of skeptical because I don't know how much patience Sean Payton has for a young quarterback. Have not seen it, and the only person that I can think about is Garrett Grayson. You know what I'm saying? And looking at Sean Payton's track record, I don't really see him interacting or trying to develop young quarterbacks. I don't know if he just feel like, a veteran quarterback understands the league better, or he just impatient. But if it was me and I see these stats, I think that I will have a place for Trey Lance, no doubt. Joe says, TJ, do you think the Saints are going to work on Alvin Kamara's contract when they straighten out the 53-man roster, or do you think they're going to push it to the limit? Joe, that is a very good question, my friend. And to answer your question, I feel like the Saints are going to try to sign him pretty soon. I look at him as a holdout. I don't think he's going to come to camp. I don't think that he is going to play in the preseason if he doesn't have a long-term deal. And honestly, if you look at Michael Thomas and the way that he did things, I'm pretty sure other players are going to follow suit as well. So I think the Saints aren't going to want to miss training camp and all this other stuff that's been going on. I don't think they want to have Alvin Kamara not involved with any type of all-season activities, which I haven't heard anything about him not being on virtual calls or him not being in virtual meetings. I haven't heard anything like that. So that's a plus. But I think the Saints want to sign him because I think Sean Payton likes him a lot. And I think he sees him as the future of the New Orleans Saints. So, yeah, I think they're going to sign him pretty soon. Phoebe says, you think Janoris Jenkins can lock down Chris Godwin? I don't know about lockdown, but he'll be able to neutralize him pretty well. You know what I'm saying? I think he'll be able to keep him under control. I think that he'll be able to do some things to frustrate him. That's just the way Janoris Jenkins is. And but Chris Godwin is an incredibly talented wide receiver. He's very underrated, and I understand why, because everybody looks at Mike Evans as the number 1 receiver, but not me. I feel like Chris Godwin right now is slowly becoming a better wide receiver than Mike Evans. Byron Brown says, do you think Breeze and Sanders will click? Well, I don't see no reason why they shouldn't, Byron. I look at Drew Brees going up to Denver and them throwing the ball around, and I just feel like Emmanuel Sanders is a pro. I feel like he'll be able to adapt to Drew Brees, and I feel like Drew Brees will be able to adapt to him. And I think these guys can make beautiful music together. I think that Emmanuel Sanders is the type of wide receiver that Drew Brees loves. He's a guy that's a good timing guy, good route runner, good, sure hands, and he's a smart player. So I think that they should be able to be on the same page. Jack says, okay, I think he's talking to someone else on that. Rodgers to the Saints in 2023. That would be interesting right there, Brian. I don't know if you checked out any of the lives before, but that conversation has come up. Aaron Rodgers is a diva. Let's just call it for what it is. He's a guy, he doesn't want another guy breathing down his neck. He wants to be the guy on the team. And you don't draft a player that high in Jordan Love for him to be sitting on the bench for 3 or 4 years. So I think the writing is on the wall in Green Bay. I think that's the reason why they end up getting Matt LaFleur. That's the reason why they decided to, fire Mike McCartney, because they wanted to get a guy up in there that can basically put Aaron Rodgers in his place and not afraid to let Aaron Rodgers go, need be. And I can see him in a Saints uniform. But if I had a choice and it's not Jameis Winston, if that don't work out or Taysom Hill, I'm rolling with Matthew Stafford, man. I would choose Matthew Stafford over Aaron Rodgers. Not that Aaron Rodgers isn't talented, not that Aaron Rodgers couldn't get the Saints where they need to be, but I just feel like Matthew Stafford is very underrated, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he never had a running game, and he's always changing coaches and coordinators. So be interesting to see Matthew Stafford in New Orleans. Phoebe says if we get Clowney, we gonna have the best D line. Yeah, I mean it seems that way, but that's all about being healthy. If the team can stay healthy, then I'm all for it. I agree with you 100%. But if they can't stay healthy, then that's a whole nother story for another day. Alan says, do you think the Saints should get Clowney? Absolutely, man. Especially since he's speaking a language of not costing an arm and a leg, and understanding that, okay, I need to earn my money. I need to earn my keep. I need to prove it. Definitely. But if he was out here asking for the same money as he was at the beginning of the training camp, absolutely not. But since he's changed his tune, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the Saints uniform. Jack says, to be honest, Aaron Rodgers come off like a pretty cool guy on Pat McAfee's show. But maybe that's because they're pretty good friends. So he gets the best out of him whenever they speak. Yeah, that could be it. Aaron Rodgers is, he's a straight shooter. And, sometimes ball clubs, they want their players to be politically correct, toe the line. Aaron Rodgers isn't like that. He's never been like that. He's never been a guy to toe the line. He's never been a guy to sit up there and, just say they're all the right things. He's a man with his own mind and his own opinion. And sometimes teams don't like that. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the Green Bay Packers decided to get Jordan Love. But, he seemed pretty cool, but he will say a lot of eyebrow-raising things from time to time. TJ, why didn't we sign Cam Newton instead of all these other QBs? Good question there, Ali. The reason why is, I put it to you like this, man. If you have an opportunity to have a starting quarterback that's been a starter for 4 years at the age of 26 versus a quarterback that has been a starter in the league going on his 10th year at the age of 30, which one would you want? You know what I'm saying? Like Cam Newton, no disrespect to him, but if I had to choose between Jameis Winston and Cam Newton, I'm rolling with Jameis Winston. Not because of talent, not because, Cam Newton hasn't proven anything. He has. He's league MVP, for God's sakes, and led Carolina to a Super Bowl. And Jameis Winston is an interception machine. But I feel like Jameis Winston has an opportunity to turn, to right the ship and to make a turn in his career, versus Cam Newton, who has come off shoulder surgery, has come off ankle surgery, and is in his 30s. It is hard for a Tiger to try to change his stripes. And I'm not saying that Cam Newton won't come back and be better than ever, but I'm saying that I feel like Jameis Winston has an opportunity to really do some great things. He's not really even in his prime yet. So I would choose Jameis Winston over Cam Newton, just on a simple fact of youth is on the side of Jameis Winston. And I feel like he still has an opportunity to, do some great things and better himself. I feel like from Cam Newton, I feel like what you see is what you get. He's been that way for way too long. Iceman T says, hey, TJ, why don't you feel as confident about this year's team as you did for teams in the past? That's a very good question, Iceman T. And I'll be honest with you when I say this. The reason why is I feel like teams have gotten better. I've seen the Seattle Seahawks, emerge from being a team that was dominated by the Legion of Boom to becoming Russell Wilson's team. I've seen the Green Bay Packers, even though I feel like they smoke and mirrors, they have emerged out of the shadows of just being a Aaron Rodgers team with no defense to a team that can actually rush the quarterback with young secondary players in a running game. As much as I like to laugh at the Dallas Cowboys, I see a very young Dallas Cowboy team with a good offensive line and a running back that could end up being a Hall of Fame over the next couple of years. I see the Philadelphia Eagles finally allowing a Carson Wentz to become the leader of the franchise. So what I'm saying to you is this: the Saints back in 2017, they were a really good football team, and I feel like they kind of exceeded expectations. They had one of the best draft class in all of the NFL, probably NFL history, and they used those guys to become one of the best teams over the past 3 years. But the problem is now that these guys are starting to wind down, and now it's time for them to have big contracts, and you're really starting to ask these guys to go out there and lay it all on the line at the expense of possibly not getting a long-term deal because, they end up getting hurt or something like that. Now, I'm not trying to question these guys' integrity, but I'm just saying. And also, teams get better every single year. You can't just say, oh, man, this is going to be a Super Bowl year. Oh, this is our year. I was confident back in 2019. The reason I was so confident that this past year, was because the way 2018 ended. You know what I'm saying? I was angry as a fan. I was frustrated. I was like, man, let's get this season started, man, so the Saints can get to the playoffs. I knew they were going to make it to the playoffs. I was confident about that. But I was like, man, it gets to the playoffs, they're going to get over this hump. But now I'm not as confident because I watched them play in a wild card round of the playoffs, and I'm watching them lay an egg. And it seems like history is continuously repeating itself. And if it's not bad luck, then it's, bad positioning. It's bad play calling. It's bad decisions. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not as confident. Do I think the Saints are going to make the playoffs this year? Absolutely. Do I think they're going to win the division? Absolutely. But if you were to ask me, do I feel like the Saints 100% are going to the Super Bowl? I have to say with an honest face, I don't know. I really don't know. If you would ask me in 2019, I would have said absolutely. This year, not so sure. So that's one of the reasons why, because teams are getting better. Teams are getting better. I mean, we see the 49ers. I mean, we see the Seahawks. We see the Eagles. We see the Cowboys. Tampa, they got Tom Brady. We can't dismiss that. So, I mean, you even can throw, Carolina up in there and that team. No disrespect to them. I mean, they can make a run. We've seen this before. So that's the reason why I'm not as confident as I was in the past. Mark Ford says, nah, cuz our corners can lock down their receivers. Gronk and Brady are old and on a decline. The old line still sucks. Man, I mean, team change from year to year, Mark Ford. Dalton says Sean Payton is turning into Marty Schottenheimer. I've been saying that, Dalton. Real talk. 11-5 is pretty good for a team that isn't even really that good. I think 9-7 or 10-6. Inevitable expertise. That's interesting. Raquel McGee, what's going on? Bucks still got no running game. Yep, that is true. I wonder why they ain't try to get somebody like Devontae Freeman or something like that. I wonder why. That is very, very interesting. I really couldn't tell you. But Who Dat Nation, I apologize that I have to cut this live short here tonight. But I am going to be on the show tonight. I got to get the name of it here. But it is it's Real Talk Perez podcast. On Real Talk Perez, he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, man. I will be a guest on his show on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is about 5 minutes away. So I apologize for cutting this live short, but I told him that I will be a part of his show to talk and represent the New Orleans Saints. So I will put the link in the description where you all can check it out. And man, come over there and support, man, the New Orleans Saints. I'm pretty sure, he's going to have the Tampa Bay faithful out there, supporting the teams. So we have a Falcon representative, and we also have a Carolina Panthers representative. So I'll put the link in the description box, and hopefully I'll see you all there. Thank you all very much for checking out the live of the State of the Saints podcast. If you have not already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Also facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on iHeart Radio. And also just thank you all very much for your love and your support. And we'll continue to talk New Orleans Saints through the weekend. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?